So it's looking like I need to correct myself about something. So I said in the last video that I made about Zay Frank that he doesn't live in New Jersey. He's never lived in New Jersey. Why would he be interested in the wetlands of Cape May? Well, it turns out, I just found out early this morning, last night early this morning, like 6 a.m., that Zay Frank actually, at some point within the last year, probably spring, late spring, early summer of 2024, probably, I'm not sure. Zay Frank moved from Great Barrington, Massachusetts, down to my home state of New Jersey. Yeah. But there are some things, but I still have some things to say about this. First of all, it creeps me out to no end that he is now in my home state. He's that much closer to my hometown and my family in my hometown and so on and so forth. Which I'm sure wouldn't be hard for him to guess that would creep me out. So here, let's have a look really quickly. We'll come back to this. So here was his last address in Great Barrington, New Jersey, or Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I didn't even know. I knew he lived in Great Barrington. I didn't know what his exact address was, mostly because I didn't really want to know. But I happened to be looking into his wife, Jody Brandt, a little bit more last night, and just searched Jody Brandt in Massachusetts, and on like the first page, a site came up that mentioned the property, the real estate dealings where they bought the property in Massachusetts, and it said the exact address. So I brought up this listing here, or a list. I looked at like 2 or 3 different listings for the same property, and looked at the sales history and saw that they sold this property in December 2024. So this past December, early December on the 6th, I believe, they sold this property. And I know I could see in the sales history they bought it roughly like 2020, 2021. So they lived there for like 4 years and moved. Sorry, I'm gonna wait for this plane to fly overhead. Okay. So then they moved from this property, swanky. Although I was kind of loving that you guys had problems with the water there. I kind of felt like you were deserving of that, but I did see that a while back. So then they moved to, looks like, this little property here in Maplewood, New Jersey. Mind you, Maplewood, New Jersey is up in North Jersey. So, and Cape May, New Jersey, my hometown, is as far south as it gets in New Jersey. It's the very tippy bottom south of the peninsula of New Jersey. So it's still, so even though he probably, and so again, it looks like they bought this property roughly around April or May of 2024. So they were between properties, this one in New Jersey and the one that they had in Massachusetts for the better part of last year, because they didn't sell their Massachusetts property until December of last year. But they bought this property in like April, May of last year. So I don't know if he was going back and forth, I don't know, I don't care. But yeah, it's a safe bet that I guess recently he's probably just based entirely out of New Jersey. So he probably did not make a 5-hour drive down to Cape May, New Jersey. But still, from Maplewood down to Cape May, it's roughly a 2.5-hour drive. I think the entire length of the state, from the tippy top, the northern part of the state, to the very southern part of the state, is about 3 hours, between 3.5 hours. So it's still about a 2.5-hour drive. Still a bit of a trek. Here's the thing, I would guess one of the reasons that, here we go, we'll bring this up, that he bought the property in Maplewood is because it's about 45 minutes away outside of New York City. And his dad, you can see here, his dad is listed as currently being a professor at Columbia University in New York City. His dad lives in or right around New York City. And his dad is like as old as the Crypt Keeper anymore. So it's very likely that he is wanting to be closer to his dad. That's one reason you could say that he would want to move closer to New York City. But one thing I want to point out to you guys is, let's pull this up. Here we go. So here's Maplewood right here, where he is. And here's New York City. I do not know exactly where his dad lives in New York City. I know where Columbia University is. Oh, fucking A. Sorry. I mean, I used to bum around on that campus. I know someone who works there. I dated that guy. Anyway, no, never, I'm not even gonna go there. So I know Columbia University is on the Upper West Side because I hung out on the campus there for like better part of a year. I took time off from school in Chicago. One thing I want to point out to you guys is, so yeah, he's about a 45 minute drive away from his dad now. But look at all this other land over here. There's Long Island right here. Like, he didn't need to move to New Jersey. He didn't need to do that. He could have easily moved. He could have easily stayed within the state of New York, his home state, and still been within a reasonable driving distance of the city. He could have moved all down here. He used to live in Brooklyn. Why not move back to Brooklyn? He could have lived all out here. He could have lived just north of the city up here. But he chose New Jersey. Still, I want to circle back around to the point that North Jersey is very, very different from South Jersey in a lot of ways. So in fact, back in my early 20s, when I was first starting off attending the Art Institute out in Chicago, I recall, so we'll pull this up actually, from Maplewood to Cape May, New Jersey. Yeah, so roughly 2.5 hours. And you can see here, see all that right there in between North and South Jersey? That's called the Pine Barrens. That is a large forest of pine trees. It's barren of a lot of life or civilization. That's why it's called the Pine Barrens. So that very effectively separates the north side of the state from the south side of the state. And when I was going to college out in Chicago, I remember it was during orientation, they lumped us new students into groups, and I was sitting with the group of other new students, and we were just going around talking about each other, ourselves, and they came around to me, and I mentioned I was from New Jersey. And another girl in the group went, "Oh my gosh, I'm from New Jersey too." And I was like, "Really? What town?" And she said the name of the town, and I had no clue where she was talking about. I was like, "Where is that?" And she was like, "Oh, up in North Jersey." And I was like, I said, "I'm from South Jersey." And we both kind of simultaneously went, "Oh, okay. That's basically another state." Both of us, the girl from North Jersey and the girl from South Jersey, simultaneously were like, "Yeah, we might as well be from different states." So why am I saying that? Because there are people who live their whole lives up here in North Jersey and never come down to Cape May, New Jersey. They might, maybe, come as far down as Atlantic City if they want to do a little gambling, maybe. But keep in mind, North Jersey is very, it's way more city because it's right there near New York City. In fact, it's considered to be like the suburbs of New York City. There are a lot of people that live in New Jersey, northern New Jersey, and go work in New York City. And down south, again, as you can see, you've got all this pine barrens forest where there's really not any towns or civilizations. You got marshland all down here. So this is more foresty and more farmland and marshes down in the south. Really kind of, it's like two different worlds. So again, there are people, gotta plug this in. There are people who go their entire lives living up in North Jersey that never go down to South Jersey. They never go down to Cape May. If they want to go to the city and have fun, they go into New York City. If they want to go to the beach, they go somewhere on like Long Island, Coney Island type of place, okay? They don't drive 2.5 hours down to Cape May. And the same is sometimes true of people living, there are people who live in South Jersey that have never been up to North Jersey. As far north as they've been is maybe like Atlantic City, Tom's River. There's some people who've never gone up to New York City. Sometimes you take a day trip or two, but you don't really like stop off and like hang out in North Jersey. All right. If you're going up near North Jersey, it's usually because you're going to New York City for the day or a weekend or something. We do get people down in Cape May. We do get people who come down from New York City area, from Philly, for a weekend, for a week, to vacation. Yes, Cape May is a big vacation spot. It's a big tourist attraction. There's a whole song. There are a couple songs, but there's at least one song that's on the way to Cape May. So, all right. And then there's stuff like Under the Boardwalk and blah, blah, blah. And I think, what's his face? Is it Billy Joel or who's the other guy? Who's the big musician that's known for being from Jersey? Shit, whatever. You guys figure it out. There are a lot of songs that reference Cape May, New Jersey and Wildwood, New Jersey area. However, again, I do think that the whole fundraiser that Zay Frank, let's pull that up, that Zay Frank has started for the Wetlands Institute down in Cape May, New Jersey area. It's technically Stone Harbor. It's still Cape May County. It's just a little bit north of Cape May. Zay Frank Patreon. It's still super creepy. Oh, he's added a new post. Come on. Oh, jokes. Jokes about what the horseshoe crab, the underside of it, looks like. Zay Frank's face on a good day. No, Zay Frank's junk. That's the pube situation he's got going on right there. That's what it looks like. Ew. Poor Jody. Anyway. So yeah, just to show you guys here, it's the third one post down on Zay Frank's Patreon. He has a little video clip here where he's talking about, I'm not going to play it again. I played it for a previous video. He's talking about driving down to the Cape May, New Jersey area to visit the Wetlands Institute because he wants to start a fundraiser for preserving the wetlands and saving the horseshoe crabs, and oh, that's so sweet. And I think that in some small way, call me egotistical if you want, he manufactured that shit as an excuse to go down to my hometown. Let me show you something. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If you guys can find anything about Zay Frank starting a fundraiser for any of like the nature preserves or anything like that are in Massachusetts. And look, he was living right around here in Massachusetts. See all these nature preserves, Otis State Forest, blah, blah, blah. If he's so interested in like wetlands, marshy, ocean area, he could have gone out here to the east side of the state. Look at all these nature preserves. Look at like all this nature out in Massachusetts that probably needed fundraising as well. And I have yet to find anything for like the 4 years that Zay Frank lived in Massachusetts where he was trying to raise funds for any of the nature in Massachusetts, which I'm sure some of that still needs preserving, and needs funds and so on and so forth. See where I'm going here? He lived in Massachusetts for 4 years. I didn't see him. I have yet to find anything. Why doesn't he? Maybe he should post something on Patreon, on his Patreon, like reminding us, showing us. You know, his next post maybe should be something showing us like, hey, here's the past fundraisers that I've done. And if there's anything he's done for Massachusetts while he was living in Massachusetts for like 4 years, then that'll be a strike against me. But I have yet to see or find anything where he started a fundraiser for anything in Massachusetts while he was living there. Yet he's living in New Jersey for like less than a year, maybe about a year or less. And right off the bat, he's starting a fundraiser for not anything in North Jersey. Nope. He moves down here to North Jersey, and he doesn't even live near any freaking wetlands. So again, he lives like right around this area. He doesn't live near any wetlands. North Jersey doesn't have wetlands, okay? And he's living there for about a year or less, and he's already starting a fundraiser for the wetlands all the way down here. Let's switch over to the Google Maps. All the way, he manufactured a reason to come all the way 2.5 to 3 hours down here to Cape May to save the wetlands that he doesn't live anywhere near. Again, this is my hometown down here. He just moved to New Jersey within a year, about a year ago or less. He moved up here. Again, these are North and South Jersey are quite often, even by people who live in New Jersey, they're considered to be two different states. This area is very flat. Farmland, ocean. Up here is a bit more mountainous. You can see kind of the mountain ranges right there running through. It's a bit more city. Yeah. So he's there for less than a year, and he's starting a fundraiser for this whole, like, the ass end of New Jersey that's so far away from him. Right? And again, let me remind you, he's from, like, right around Albany, New York. That's where he grew up. He lived in Brooklyn for a little while. He lived out in Los Angeles for a while. And then the last 4 years or so, roughly 2020 to 2024-ish, he lived in the western side of Massachusetts. And I have not found any kind of fundraisers that he did for anything in Massachusetts. So, or anything in New York. I mean, he grew up right around Albany. He lived in Brooklyn, New York for a while. When he was living over here in the western part of Massachusetts, here's Great Barrington right here. See, he's like right near the border of New York State. So, yeah. Where were all those fundraisers, dude? Where were the Massachusetts fundraisers? Where were the New York fundraisers? I'm not sure if he did any out in LA either. Maybe when he was living out in Los Angeles for several years. But he moves down to New Jersey, my home state. He's up in North Jersey. I'm sure plenty of other stuff up here in North Jersey too. He could have, like, Delaware Water Gap type thing. There's stuff up here in North Jersey that has nothing to do with the wetlands or South Jersey he could have done fundraisers for as well. But he chose, no. He chose the wetlands and the marshlands And the Wetlands Institute down here, right around my hometown in Cape May. Yeah. It's still creepy. I might have been a little off because, sorry, I don't keep like rigid track of where he's living at all times. And now I feel like maybe I should, because it feels like he's getting closer to me. Mind you guys, let me remind you, for a few years, I was living in an RV and traveling around the country. I was in Texas, I was in Colorado, I was out in California, I was in LA for a little while, but he wasn't there. He had already moved to Massachusetts. And I also had, I did a background check on him before I went out there, which gave me some addresses for where he lived when he was in LA. And I also knew that he worked at BuzzFeed when he was out in LA. Do you think when I was in LA that I went anywhere near any of the addresses, the old addresses where he lived, or BuzzFeed headquarters? I absolutely fucking did not. The closest I got to one of them was I had to, when I was driving to my job out in LA, I was driving down a highway that actually went past the area where the BuzzFeed building was. So you could kind of like look over and see the top of the building, but that's as close as I got to that building, right? Because I didn't want to risk running into him, possibly. Who knows, he was kind of come back and visit friends. I don't know. Or coworkers, old coworkers. I didn't want to risk running into anyone in his family or anybody who knew him. Because that was just too much creepy town for me. Right? And then when I came back across the country, I came back in my RV. I came back along the south here, along the I-10, drove through Texas, Louisiana, and then I chose to drive up the Appalachian Mountains here and decided, because I was coming home to Cape May, I decided I was just going to drive up the Appalachian Mountains to the top of New Jersey and then drive down from the north, drive down along the Garden State Parkway here, which is basically this blue line here. That's the best way to kind of get from the north side of the state to the south side of the state, is this Garden State Parkway. So I chose to do that. Now, mind you, when I was up here at the top of the Appalachians, I could have decided, when I was up here in North Jersey area, I could have decided to be creepy and stop off up in Guilderland around Albany, New York, where he grew up. I could have decided to be creepy and go check out Great Barrington, Massachusetts. I could have decided that. I could have done that. It would have been nothing to drive to those spots after I'd just driven across the entire freaking country. It would have been nothing to like go out of my way a little bit, go up to Albany, go up to Great Barrington. Did I do that? Absolutely fucking not. No. A little too creepy. Didn't really want to, like, I just kept thinking about what it would be like if I accidentally ran into him. Or one of his family members that I recognized. Or a friend or something. No. Nope. And also, like, again, I've mentioned in previous videos that cult members, secret society member networks like that, cults, do tend to stay in certain communities together. They might have communities kind of split up across a country, but they like tend to, what's the word I'm looking for? Culminate or come together in certain spots, certain areas, certain towns. There are some towns across the country that if you look into it and you ask people who live there, they'll tell you like 60 to 75% of that town is people who are members of a cult. Arden, Delaware is one I've heard of. I've heard a man who grew up there who was raised in a cult, and he said most of that town is cult members. And if you're in the town, then you know, or if you're in the cult, then you know. But there's maybe like 25% of the town is not in the cult, and they have no clue that they're walking around that like most of their town is in a cult together. They have no clue. Right, so these people tend to gravitate towards certain spots, certain areas, and form little communities because they can protect each other and protect themselves that way. And if you're in a cult that likes to get together and have little rituals and stuff like that, it's that much easier for you guys to kind of get together and do these rituals if you all live in the same area. So again, I didn't want to be anywhere around where places he used to live, places he was currently living, places where he grew up, because I don't know. Like, I don't know what that community is like. I don't know. And I don't want to find out the hard way by having, like, my RV ambushed by a bunch of crazy people going like, it's her, the one who's blaming our brother, Zay Frank. She's exposing him. She's exposing all of us. Make her disappear. No. So, again, like, creepy town, Creepyville. There was no reason, and you know what? He didn't have to drive down to South Jersey to raise funds for the wetlands. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to make a big fucking deal out of it. He didn't have to televise it. He's got money. This house in Maplewood, you know how much he bought it for? The house in Maplewood, let's pull it up. Ready? Let's pull it up. Let's see, how much did Zay Frank pay for his house in Maplewood? He paid, about $1,500,000. $1.5 million for the house. Right there, look. He's got the money to fund the wetlands without making a big deal out of it. Like, if he was really so passionate about saving the wetlands in South Jersey, you would think, and he just didn't want to get near me. Again, he knows who I am. He knows me. Well, he knows of me. He knows that I've spent the last 3 years accusing him of being in a cult that I strongly believe practices incest, ritualized incest, and raping of children and child abuse. He knows about me. I've spent 3 years making videos about this dude, okay? And putting them on my YouTube channel. He knows I'm from Cape May. That's also not hard to decipher. I've talked about it in some of my videos. If you look me up online, it's in my LinkedIn that I'm from Cape May. I've got like a Flickr account that shows all this stuff from Cape May. You can find me. A lot of my Facebook profile is public, and you can see Cape May. All right, it's not hard to connect me with Cape May, New Jersey, my hometown. That's just not hard at all. So he knows about me. He knows I'm from Cape May. He knows what I've been accusing him of. Put yourselves in his shoes, innocent or guilty. Why would you want to go down to the hometown of somebody who's accusing you of being in a cult and raping children? Why would you want to get anywhere near that place? I wouldn't want to. Okay. But if that person just happened to live in an area that I felt like so passionately about raising funds for, and I had his kind of money to buy $1 million houses, I would just give them some money. I wouldn't televise the bullshit. I wouldn't manufacture a reason to go down to that person's hometown. Like, he's got the money to just give them money without going down there at all. Or going, look at me, I'm putting it all over Patreon. Look at me, I'm a hero. I'm saving the wetlands of Cape May, and now I have an excuse to go down and stalk Kat Phillips in her hometown or her family. And for fuck's sake, I had been for a few months now going back and forth talking. I can show you guys texts to prove it if you want. Before I ever found out, which again, I just found out today, early this morning, that Zay Frank and his wife, Jody Brandt, moved to New Jersey. I just found out. But I've been going back and forth with my mom for months now, talking about moving back up north to Jersey. Shit, I was texting her stuff. Let me see, am I still going? Yeah, okay. I was texting her listings for places I was looking at and shit like that. Yeah. Which I'm not going to show you those listings because I know, nope, because I don't want to I don't want to put that out in public. Although, we'll see. So, yeah. Because I don't like this heat down here in Florida. And my mom knew that, too. She was just joking about it. She was like, I knew you weren't going to be down there for very long. You hate the heat. You hate it. I really don't want to live in the same freaking state as Zay Frank. Dude, move. Move. Go someplace else. You have the money, you have the means, go somewhere else. Anywhere else that isn't New Jersey. There are other places you can go that are not New Jersey, that are still within a reasonable driving distance of your father. Go away. Gross. Ugh. And again, I'm sure it was a double, like, it was one of those kill two birds with one stone. Like, move closer to his dad, but hey, let's move to New Jersey and freak Cat out. Like, that's Cat Films' home state. I'm sure there are houses that are just as big and just as nice out on Long Island, or just up north of the city, so on and so forth. Like, dude, so freaking creepy town. Creepy creep. Freaking poster child for Alcoholics Anonymous here. This douchey McDouchebag asshole douche. For fuck's sake. My home state. I didn't move to Massachusetts. I didn't move to New York. I mean, I briefly lived in New York City, but that was like in my college years. You did not exist to me. For fuck's sake. Yeah, anyway. So I just wanted to, and today I was gonna start fresh and quit smoking again. I made it like 3 months in the beginning of the year, and then it started again. But now, no. When I discovered this, I went right out and bought a pack of cigarettes. My one last vice I'm trying to get rid of, and you're ruining it, jerk. Anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to correct myself. Again, I said in my last video on my YouTube channel that Zay Frank doesn't live in New Jersey, and he's never lived in New Jersey, but apparently now he does. He lives in my home state, and he's manufacturing reasons to go down to South Jersey, to my hometown, because again, if he really wants to save the wetlands, he can just give them some money. He does not need to make a big fundraiser deal out of it. He does not need to televise that shit. He does not need to put it up all over his social media and say, look at me, I'm a big hero. I'm saving the wetlands. Aren't I a cool guy? He doesn't need to do any of that shit. All he needs to do is give them some of his freaking money. But again, I don't really think it's about the wetlands. I think it's about being an asshole and trying to creep me out and trying to move in on my turf. So, we'll leave it there.